Have you ever wondered why certain frames stay with you after the moment is gone? With an 85mm lens, it has a way of seeing the world that feels almost personal. It compresses space, pulls subjects forward, and turns ordinary moments into something worth pausing for. It shows you that every frame is a decision, one that only you can make, and that choice is composition. Composition is the foundation of every image we create. You can have flawless color, perfect lighting, the sharpest lens, but without intention behind your framing, the shot feels empty. What gives a frame impact is how you arrange the world inside it, where you place your subject, what you hide, what you emphasize, and what you allow your viewer to feel. Every frame becomes a story within a story. Every detail becomes a character, and every bit of negative space becomes part of the narrative. This lens doesn't just give you a wide canvas, it gives you a focused one. And that's the challenge and the beauty. It invites you to notice the shapes, the balance, the quiet moments happening between the lines. And in those subtle shifts, you start to understand the language of your own framing. This is the art of mastering composition. And this is where your story begins. This video is brought to you by Viltrox. To start this video off, I wanted to tackle the 85mm perspective. An 85mm is known to be a portrait king, especially for lenses that have fast apertures like f1.2 or f1.4, but this Viltrox 85mm, despite only being f2, it's also great for portraits. Now, if we're talking about filmmaking, this is also the close-up king. But the thing is, 85mm isn't just for close-ups. It's actually a great focal length for wide, negative space, detail shots, and shots that are intentional and guide the storytelling. It'll really test your composition skills to get a great shot. If you're used to a versatile 35mm or 50mm, this is going to take you a little bit out of your comfort zone because the lens is tight and it does compress the scene slightly. The compression isn't dramatic though, but it does remove distractions and makes you think what actually belongs in the frame. This isn't a focal length that you just point and shoot. You actually have to move, step back, step closer. Basically, you need to work for that composition. With this, every composition becomes intentional, and that's what I love about this lens. It doesn't let you take lazy shots. Basically, the 85mm teaches you to see closer to your frame. What do you want your viewers to notice? Where should their eyes go? It's a question this lens asks every time you hit that shutter button. It's a tool to nail where you want your story to go, whether it's photo or video. Intentional framing is one of the key aspects of how I go about composition. Every tiny adjustment can change the frame's intentions. It can change the story or the feeling you're trying to capture. And when we think about, oh, I just want beautiful shots, subconsciously our creative brains start to work. There's actually some meaning behind what we're trying to convey with each shot. Now, it could be a beautiful view with great lighting, the feeling of being in a busy street, feeling trapped in a boxed-in path. You basically have the freedom to create what you're experiencing and what you're seeing during that point in time. Let's look at some practical examples. First, centered shots versus off-centered shots. Centered shots feel polished, controlled, and deliberate. They will tell the viewer exactly where to look. But shift just a little off center and suddenly the frame starts to breathe. The viewer's eyes start to wander and giving space for storytelling. Even off-center shots are intentional. You're actually deciding how much room your story gets. Second is negative space. Don't be afraid of empty areas. Negative space can make your subject feel small, isolated, or even powerful. It's a silent part of your story. But it doesn't always connotate negative meanings. Like I said, it can feel powerful. It also allows breathing room or a sense of calmness. Maybe you really want to look at the peacefulness of a sky while in a busy street. And another practical use for negative space is text placement. Not necessarily an artistic meaning, could be, but it allows you to have space and balance for text. Once you actually master negative space, it unlocks another branch of flexibility for you to use for your photos or videos. And third is framing through layers. Look at branches, doorways, windows. These foreground elements create depth. At 85mm, the blur in front becomes part of the story. You're drawing the eye in. This is where composition starts to feel cinematic. When I was still early in my creative career, a cranky but amazing photographer once told me, our job as photographers and filmmakers is to create depth, to make a 2D image feel like it's 3D. Not in a typical 3D movie sense, but allowing your viewers to feel immersed into your work. And this advice always stuck to me. Also, cinematographers always talk about using light, contrast, and layers to create depth, and framing through foregrounds is a simple yet powerful way to do it. Being intentional with your shots lets you control the story you're trying to tell. That's the power of intentional framing. Shooting at f2 isn't just about getting a blurry background. It's actually controlling the attention and guiding your viewer through your frame. Honestly, I don't often reach for f1.2 or f1.4. On full frame cameras, you already get shallow depth of field, so I usually stick with f2, f2.8, or even higher. Why? Because I still want context in the frame. I want the viewer to see the environment around the subject, so the story makes a little bit more sense. The Viltrox 85mm f2 Evo is actually perfect for this. At f2, the depth of field is shallow enough to make your subject pop, but not so shallow that the rest of the frame disappears. That balance is crucial for your composition. You can place your subject off-center, frame through foreground objects, or use negative space, and this lens handles separation beautifully. It gives you the right amount of control without sacrificing context. Light is where your composition really comes alive. With the 85mm, small framing adjustments become big storytelling choices, and light is what defines those choices. I want to talk about highlight roll-off. That smooth transition from bright areas to midtones is a subtle but powerful tool for your composition. It tells your eye where to look and how to move across the frame. And on this Viltrox 85mm, the highlight roll-off is incredibly smooth. That means when you place a subject in a highlight or shoot into a bright background, the light doesn't feel harsh or, let's just say, distracting. It naturally guides the attention to the subject. So when you're thinking about an 85mm shot, don't just frame the subject, frame the light too. And with the Viltrox 85mm Evo, it's easier than ever because this lens gives you that soft, controlled highlight roll-off that complements your composition rather than competing with it. So that's the art of composing with an 85mm. Every framing choice, every bit of light, every use of negative space or foreground layer shapes the story you're telling. The Viltrox 85mm f2 Evo makes this easier because of its shallow depth of field, smooth highlight roll-off, and slightly compressed perspective to guide your eye without taking over the frame. So here's my challenge to you. Go out with your camera, experiment with framing, move around, play with light, and see how one lens can completely change the way you compose. If you have any questions about anything we've covered, let me know in the comments down below. And if you do like my colors and want to make your edits to feel like a memory, everything is on my website. But until then, I will see you in the next video. Peace.